Good day everyone, welcome back to Therapy Wisdom. This is Mini, a licensed therapist in Malaysia. Today's Therapy Wisdom is inspired by what I just completed. I actually just finished planning for my 2024, and I know you'll be seeing tons of this video while you scroll on YouTube, but I am using what I have taught my clients in sessions and how I set goals, like set achievable goals and sustainable goals with my clients, and compile all of that here and sharing it with you because I genuinely want you to succeed in 2024. And when I say succeeding, it's not about that burst of energy on the first quarter, but sustainable and just sustainable successes throughout the whole year. Now, before we get started on all the tips that I'm going to give you, please remember this. You are here to set yourself up for success. And when I say that, it means that we have to think from the perspective of how do you set goals on sick days? How do you set goals on low period of your life? How do you set goals on days where it's going to be hard for you to even wake up, right? So bear that in mind while we talk about the step-by-step on how I set my goals for 2024. Okay, number one, my biggest tip is to always ask this question. If let's say it's December 2024 today, what would you be doing? What would you be doing? Who are you surrounded with? How is your day-to-day look like during that day? Like on the 31st of December, how would your day look like? And be as specific as possible. So I always start from there. And even as a therapist, that I've asked this question tons of time, because I always ask this question where, what do you want to achieve? Let's say if therapy works for you, by the time we hit like our last session, how would you feel like for me to say that you are good to go? You don't need therapy for now. So I use that question and ask myself on how would 31st December 2024 look like for me. And you will get very interesting answers, I would say. Do you want to join us? He just woke up from his nap, so okay, you are part of the plan in 2024. Okay, so when I ask that question, it can feel scary. I'm gonna tell you this. It's gonna feel scary because every year, without fail, I realize that I don't include certain aspect of my life in it. So, for example, this year I realized that when I was talking about my 31st December day, I did not include much of my 9 to 5 maybe. Then it makes me realize, like, is there something wrong with it? Is it something that is no longer important for me? Is it something that I want to rethink and find more clarity throughout 2024? It's scary because you thought that this aspect of your life is important to you. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? At this moment, it is important for me. But over a long period of time, when you have that question in mind, you start to realize that, hey, is it because this thing doesn't align with me anymore? It can be a certain person in your life, it can be certain relationships or certain habits or certain passion project that you've been working on. It's scary because it makes you realize that there is a shift, right? And it's such a powerful question because it really forces you to confront with your fear. So start with this question. I personally took 2 weeks to think about it and to question myself over and over again before I even start doing step 2. So take your time with this. So then I go to step 2. Once I kind of have that end goal in mind, my step 2 is I would literally write down a 2024 diary each month. So I used to do a workshop for Min Care. I think 2 years ago, I did a workshop on helping people set goals together. I haven't done that in a while. This year has been pretty crazy, but I'm not sure. Maybe in 2024, we might have more offline community event coming up. I'm not too sure, but manifesting it. I would start writing down my January recap, February recap, March recap, April recap. I think this is just to make sure that I am realistic with my goals and also realistic with what I'm hoping to see during that month, right? If you really break that down, you could really see that, hey, a month is just 30 days and it's just 4 weekends. It's gonna fly by very quickly. And I'm going to be very mindful with the things I choose to do and also choose not to do, and to be okay with the choices that I make during that month. So for example, if that month I am visualizing myself hosting a community event for Min Care, then I would be very aware that I'm going to put a lot of my energy and effort in this. And I might not be able to achieve my other goals like running every weekend, going hiking every weekend. So it makes me realize that if I'm able to visualize it like that, I will be more compassionate and forgiving towards myself during that month, because I know that I'm going to pour out a lot of my efforts in that month on a different aspect of my life. So yeah, so my second tip is to journal like as if you're going through month by month of the year. My third tip, this one I have been doing this for 2023 and I find it very, very helpful, is to choose a word for the year. So as you look through the monthly journal that you just created, you would realize that there is this one intention that you might need to have throughout the year in order to sustainably achieve those things. And this, like 2023, I actually selected the word execution. So because I realized that I'm always in my head in 2022 that I don't get things started. So execution was my word for 2023, and I started quite a lot of different things like therapy wisdom and just a lot of different initiative, right? I find it easier when I have that word as my ultimate goal. And for, I think 2024, I don't mind sharing this, is persistence. 2023 has been a lot of like initiating, execution, but I realized that in order to make things more sustainable for me, I have to persist, even the smallest bit of it. So just like working out, I think in 2023, I have been working out quite consistently as compared to 2022. I keep initiating it, starting it, but I would go through quite a long period of time when I kind of feel a little bit like demotivated with the pause. So this, like coming 2024, I am choosing the word persistence in order to encourage myself to just keep going. Yeah. And that could serve as your anchor, the anchor of like, all right, if today I feel like giving up, I remember my word is to persist, to just keep going. Big or small, succeed or failing, I want to try and persist. So yeah, so that's my word for 2024. The next one is a pretty cliche and common tip on the internet. Yeah, I know. Which is creating a vision board. Hear me out. I am putting in some science-based reasons on why I persistently do my vision board. So number one is that vision board requires you to enforce the first tip that I've given, which is to visualize on 31st December 2024 how you want to feel, right? So a vision board actually solidify it, put them into pictures, and reinforce that neural wiring in your brain to make it a reality. What I'm saying is that make it easier, right? Going back to the initial pointer that I said is to set yourself up for success. So science-based research have said that the more you are able to find evidence of these things that you want to achieve, the more you are going to embody it, right? You can relearn on the feeling of worthiness of these goals that you set for yourself. And so the science behind this is that you want to make it easier for you, right? And one way to do it is to really utilize all your senses to feel how it's like for you to achieve those goals. And one of the things is visualizing, like sight. Your sight is the one that kind of captures the evidence that this is going to happen. Our brain is designed in a way that keeps us safe and goes for what is familiar to you. So imagine this. You set some goals by the end of the year. Some of it is going to require you to break some habits or relearn some habits or do things differently. So imagine if your brain is coming from the place where it always goes back to what it is familiar with. Of course, it's going to have a lot more resistance throughout the year as you try to achieve those goals, right? What does visualizing and embodying it and putting them into vision board do is to help your brain familiarize this so that it doesn't resist the idea of you achieving it that much. Yeah, so I think that's the simplest way that I could kind of explain it. And also by doing that, you are also priming your brain to notice opportunities and the resources that is going to help you achieve those goals. I remember someone posted on social media about this. If let's say you're on the road today, right? If I were to ask you now, how many red cars have you noticed? You probably would be like, not too sure. I'm not too sure how many red cars I've came across today. But if I would tell you now that every time you see a red car, I'm going to give you 50 ringgit or $50. Tomorrow, you are more likely to pay attention to the red cars that you encounter, right? So I think it's the same thing, right? If you have like a more solid and very in your face kind of vision, along the way down the road, you are more likely to find those opportunities or capture those opportunities along the way. So this is why I do my vision board. I try my very, very best to make it as similar to what I want to achieve by the end of 2024. So the last tip is to ask questions, and asking the right questions is probably my job as a therapist in session, is to ask you the right question. So I'm gonna spill the tea. I'm not gonna gatekeep. These are some of the questions that I think you should start asking yourself if, let's say, you want to make 2024 a successful year for you. Number one, instead of asking what would I like to do more next year, I want you to take another approach on this. Ask yourself, 5 years ago, what did I do that has had an impact in my life up until today? Let me repeat that. What have I done 5 years ago that still has an impact on my life today? This is a new question that I asked this year because every year I reflect on my life. I kind of reflect on the year itself. So I'm like, oh, I did this, I did that. And it's easy, right? To like just scroll on Instagram, on your story to see what you've done so far. Then I realized that 5 years ago, what did I do that still have a long-lasting impact on today, my life? Is it wasn't whatever that I called an achievement during that year, but more so on other little things. Like, so let me give you an example. So I think in 2019. So in 2019, or before that, I don't remember anymore, I actually had a birthday bash. So I had a birthday bash because I've never had one. So I thought, I really wanted one to kind of make my inner child happy about the birthday bash. So I had one, and honestly, it didn't have much impact today, because what I remembered most was more of that one-on-one, intimate, private dinner with my friends and family that held a very, very special place in my heart. That birthday bash was fun, nevertheless. It was fun, it was great. But if you ask me about long-lasting impact, I would say it's the intimate one, the one-on-ones conversation, the late night conversations that I've had with my friends. So I realized that, probably I should do more of that one-on-one, because those are going to have its impact 5 years down the road. So asking this question have changed how I kind of schedule my plan next year on some of the intention that I want to achieve. So yeah, ask that question. I think that is really, really powerful. And of course, the second question is, it's something that I think a lot of us have to relearn in asking is, what if I couldn't fail? What would I do? If I couldn't fail this project, what would I do? I think I talked about it in one of the Therapy Wisdom episode. I think it was one at the balcony one. But yeah, that question is something that I always ask myself, not just during my year-end reflection, but just throughout my day-to-day. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit down, if I'm doubting myself and my ability, I would start asking myself that if I couldn't fail, what would I do? Because I think this question is so important for a lot of us, because we are so afraid of failure that we have this tunnel vision on how failure would look like. And the brain is designed to pick up things that is going to help protect you. So of course it's gonna zoom into those failures that you've had before. So in order to kind of make the other wiring, the neural wiring to successes more healthy and more solid, it is also important to entertain the idea of what if I succeed, right? So this question, please include that in your reflection. I guess that would be it. This is a pretty impromptu episode, I would say. I hope that I get to edit it right now and kind of put it out for you so that you can take your weekend off and really reflect on things. So wherever you're listening to this, thank you so much for journeying with me with Min Care. Min Care is actually turning 5 next year. this is so crazy. But I do appreciate all of your encouragement, and I think this year has been quite an adventurous year for Min Care. I don't know where 2024 Min Care would be, but I do hope it's a year where we talk about mental health therapy more openly and more compassionately. And yeah, that is my goal. Once again, Happy New Year, everyone. Please have a good and safe New Year. We are going to have more Therapy Wisdom episodes and probably some other content coming up for you. I'll see you again. Bye bye.